Welcome to the very first episode of Ruzanna's Roundtable, where we talk openly and honestly about work, life, and money. I couldn't be more excited to introduce my guest today, my friend, my mentor, and the preeminent expert of marketing to women, Marti Barletta. I've known Marti for several years now, and not only has she given me great business advice and encouraged me to think bigger and bolder all the time, but she's provided me with a perspective on my life that filled me with joy and expectation about turning 50 in the next couple of years. Her book, Marketing to PrimeTime Women, is a must read not only for marketers, but for all women who are about to turn 50 and are thinking about the aging and worried that this process and these years will not be as happy as they want them to be. I hope that you enjoyed the interview and gain invaluable insight into the best years of your life that are yet to come. Hi, Marti. I'm very excited about this conversation today because I had a very interesting experience the other week, and it made me think about you and all the conversations we've had around women and aging. And I wanted to share this with you and have a conversation about this experience.
So tell me what happened.
So I went to the eye doctor the other day, and I got a prescription for glasses that was sorely needed. My doctor said that I was about 3 years late to get my glasses, and I knew it because I'd been avoiding him at any cost. But I finally got to a point where I could see absolutely nothing on what I read, and I felt like a joke going to restaurants and turning on my flashlight. So bottom line is I broke down and got some glasses. And as I was leaving this appointment, it just hit me, I'm entering a new stage of life. And I started to think about, well, how do I feel about this? Part of me was realizing that I am aging and life is going by very quickly. I'm approaching 50.
Can I just say one word here, Ruzanna? Because aging, that word there, another word for aging is living. From the minute you're born, you're aging. So let's not get all freaked out about aging. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my next thought was, you know what? Even though I got glasses and I'm approaching my fifth decade, life is actually pretty good. I don't feel like defeated. I don't feel that there is this dark age coming. And I'm actually excited about the next decade.
So, you sound surprised about that, Ruzanna. You sound as though you expected to feel a little bluer about your fifth decade, and you're surprised to find that you're feeling good. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was surprised about that. And I think part of it has to do with this image and glorification of youth in our culture. And
you think?
Right, yes. And to me, every time you look in the media, there is this youth creams and the image and the whole doom and gloom about aging, to make me feel like I should be worried, I should have anxiety, not be happy, and fight aging any which way I can, which was opposite to how I feel about my life going on and this next decade in my life. So the first person I thought about was you, because of this amazing book that you've written, Primetime Marketing to Primetime Women, and all the research and the knowledge that you have about this wonderful age in women's life. So I thought that if I'm feeling this way, a lot of other women probably do feel this way. So wanted to have this conversation about why am I so conflicted? What is causing this internal conflict in me? And is that normal?
Absolutely. Ruzanna, it's so interesting. When I wrote my book, Primetime Women, it was with a lot of the same motivations and observations that you're talking about right now. My friends and I, we were in our 50s and going, wow, we thought this would suck. And it's actually not too bad. So I did some research with women in their 40s, separate group, women in their 50s, women in their 60s. And women in their 50s and 60s are really happy, Ruzanna. As a matter of fact, there's research showing that there's a happiness curve. Maybe a lot of people have seen it, and And it starts, kind of when you're in your 20s. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. It starts kind of when you're in your 20s and it slopes down and la, la, la. And in 40s is the nadir, okay? And then 50s and 60s starts to go up. And that means what I found is that women in their 40s are the ones who are very worried about turning 50, but women in their 50s and 60s are not anymore because they have discovered that the reality is not what they have been sold. So it's real. People experience, women in particular, get so many bonuses, physiological bonuses, sociological bonuses, cultural bonuses from turning 50. And most of us had no idea because we don't ever hear the good news. And I wrote that book wearing rose-colored glasses on purpose because I think there's plenty of stuff in the newspapers and the media about things to worry about when you're 50. Doom outsells sunshine, as we know. But in fact, what I call prime time, which is that 25-year span. Some people call it third quarter. These days with our long life expectancies, 100 years is not at all out of the question for a lot of people. So people think of it as third quarter from 50 years old till 75 years old. That is one of the most exciting, robust, creative times for women particularly.
Well, that's very encouraging. It absolutely makes me feel much better about that this third quarter. I love this idea of a prime time because if I look back at my youth and my 20s, and I look back now, even though I have more wrinkles.
I don't see them, Ruzanna. I don't. You're listening to those L'Oreal ads again.
L'Oreal. Okay. But as I think about how I felt about myself and how I felt about my life, there's no way I want to be 20 again. I have so much more joy, so much more confidence. I have so many more accomplishments to look back at, and so much quote unquote wisdom that makes me realize that things aren't as bad, really. And our lives we are fortunate and lucky to have the lives that we do have. What do women in prime time do, and what do they enjoy?
Well, I want to put it in context just one more time because I did a passing reference to women in their 40s. This is really the toughest time. And I just want to give that as the context because women feel like, oh my God, if I'm struggling this much in my 40s, what is going to happen to me in my 50s and 60s? When in fact, it's kind of, there's an important change. In your 40s, you tend to be at the peak of your work stress, right? Because that's when it's like, okay, are you going up to wherever you wanted to go up to in your career, or are you going to, keep pursuing some new interests that you have, et cetera? So it's the most career stress. It's also the most family stress for most women because couples have their kids when they're in their 20s and 30s. By the time you're in your 40s, you got teenagers, not kids. That's a whole different animal, right? And so that can get stressful, but it comes with its own set of blessings, which I'll talk about in a second. But the third thing that's important is there's a lot of people at that point experience kind of a crisis of meaning, especially women. And it's not theoretical at all because people have been working 20 years, hard in their careers. And they're kind of like, is this all there is? Is it just work and take care of the kids? What about me? Where's my life? Where's my purpose? What's my direction? And so those all kind of hit you in your 40s. And I'm just here to say that, yes, it's completely normal, Ruzanna. Most people go through it. But as I say, it's quite different for women than it is for men, which I'll talk about in a sec. And, this is perfectly normal. Trust me, things get so much better. You kind of feel like things do get better, Not that anything's bad. I know you're not bad. I know you're great, and I know you're doing great, and I know you have a great family and all of those things. But if it's feeling tough, God knows with the pandemic, it's got to be, all right. Just know that there are some things coming at you, which are some real good news.
So what about the whole, my mind is going to slow down, my looks are going to disappear, my body is not going to feel as young and resilient. Am I going to be less capable of things?
Oh, God, no. As a matter of fact, the reason that people, the convention in the Western world, I guess, is that when you reach your 50s, 60s these days, it's time to start slowing down. It's time to start taking it easy. You pretty much done what you're going to do in life. So hit the Adirondack chair or the hammock, and there you go. Right?
The beach.
That's right.
The boat.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's actually, when you think about it. All right, let me tell you the bonuses of prime time. All right. First of all, let's talk about those teenagers. People think there was a lot of stuff in the past 20 years about women, empty nesters. Oh dear, now they have no purpose. Now they feel like they're not needed anymore. And the feeling was, what they've told us is, when they go off to college, and I honestly, when my kids went off to college, I have to tell you, I thought I would feel like that. Turns out, like most people, according to the research, I also felt, in addition to missing my child, or children as it became, wow, I have so much more time. But that happens even before they go to college. What happens is, when they get their driver's license, is when you get your first inkling of freedom. You just passed that first one, right? Your son has his driver's license. Okay. So now
that was one of the best days of my life, when my son,
I know, right? Does he want to drive his sister to school? So that's one of the good news, is that you get more time starting from when they get their driver's license, because usually the first one to get the driver's license wants so much chance to drive that he's happy to drive his siblings anywhere else. So that takes a lot of the chauffeuring off of women, who do the vast majority of it, compared to husbands. The other thing that happens is, as you just said, Ruzanna, you have not only now, once that happens, you have more time, you have more experience, you have more skills, you have more resources, you have more connections, you have a network of people that you've known for decades now. All of those things make this the perfect time to start something new. Right. And so some women say, some women mostly start slowly. So when I did my research in the women in their 50s, they were like, yeah, I started taking piano lessons again, or yeah, I went back to dance class. And some of them were, I always wanted to work more towards climate change, or whatever their passion is, their causes, but I never had the time. So you can now bring so much more to bear, including financial resources. Let's not forget that, because people in their 40s, but particularly in their 50s and 60s, are at the peak earning years of their career, assuming they're still working. And so you have just so much more to work with when you're in your 50s and 60s. Don't forget that. But here's the biggie, Ruzanna. Here's the biggie, is the physiological one. So you were asking about how my brain working and my body and all of this stuff. Right. And what people don't realize is that, the so-called change of life, as they used to call it, before, and is that with menopause, actually, you get a bonus too, because as estrogen goes down, which is what happens during menopause, women's testosterone is unmasked. We all have both estrogen and testosterone. Mm-hmm. What estrogen does is sort of suppress testosterone, and the other way about in men. All right. So when we get older, women have proportionately more testosterone because they're losing estrogen. When men get older, men have proportionately more estrogen because their testosterone drops. As a matter of fact, by the time men and women are 70 years old, on average, the man will have more estrogen in his system than the average woman at that age. Isn't that something? So that tells you these hormones are not nothing here. They are just like drugs, right? They change your outlook. They change your mood, they change capabilities. And so with menopause, women get something that's called a menopausal zest, which is not a particularly helpful term, right? Yeah, I'm seeing you wrinkle your nose. It's not zest. But it is true that women tend to get a burst of more energy than they had before. Yeah. And so all of these things come together, and the net effect is that primetime women have much more freedom than they used to have.
That's amazing. I do feel like I'm healthy. I have a lot of energy. I love working out, playing tennis, and I cannot wait until the time when I have the flexibility and the freedom to be more of my own boss and do things that give me joy. And one thing that you said is finances too, right? So I now have more money than I had when I was 20. So I can spend on things that I want.
Absolutely. So the freedom thing is really the theme here for Primetime Women, is the freedom, because number one, what happens is we shift from being really very much in mom mode all the time. Everything you do is oriented around how will this, work with my family. It's not just about you. But when you're in prime time, it can just be about you some more, And so women are freed from kid-related chores a lot. Women can spend their time on what they want to. Not only that, you can buy, once they go off to college, let's say, then you can buy real furniture. You can buy a real car. You don't have to have a minivan. You can buy real, if you like antiques, you don't have to worry that some teenager is going to throw himself on it and break it. That's happened in my house.
Oh,
and so it's really, there are really so many elements of freedom that you get now. And so what happens is that women in prime time tend to pick up their levels of fun, their levels of friends, and their levels of fulfillment, is the way I talk about it in my book.
Oh, fantastic. The three F's, the F words of prime time.
There you go. The F words of 50.
Yeah. I love it that you say that it's fun and fulfillment, but also friends, because my life is so busy, but also with the pandemic and all this social distancing and isolation, I cannot wait to have that time to be more out there and make better connections, reconnect with people, and also continue building connections. Because as a business owner, I meet so many fantastic women who do amazing things with their businesses and their lives. And in order for me to connect with them, it's a wonderful opportunity for me to also, it feels wonderful to meet like-minded women and who can understand where you are. They're in the same stage of life or maybe a little bit further than you, and just have that nurturing relationship and connection with women around me. So so is that what happens? So you think I'll have friends again?
I know you have lots of friends now, Ruzanna. Yeah, you'll have more. What you will have is time to spend with your friends, usually in the family stage, which is up before prime time. Is second quarter is kind of like family stage. And usually what you have to give up, you don't have time for everything. You got to do work, you got to do family, you got to do whatever you have to do, chores, errands, whatever. And what gets squeezed out is time with the girlfriends. And that's too bad, because it's super important to two things. One, it's super important to your own personal feeling every day. I mean, that, how people say that when you're frightened or shocked by something, it's fight or flight, right? Is adrenaline goes off. Well, when women are stressed, that's not actually what happens. Turns out that when they did that research about fight or flight, it was all with men, because who needs women?
Of course.
Anyway,
what a shock.
I know, who needs them? But there were some women scientists, some bioscientists, and they said, when I'm upset about something, I don't want to fight. And I don't want to flee. I want some girlfriends to talk to, And it turns out that when women are under stress, I think we do give off adrenaline as well, but unlike men, we give off oxytocin. And oxytocin is that hormone that makes us want to hug things, And so, and it turns out that close friendships are one of the most important things for stress reduction amongst women. So that's one thing. I'm telling you, the doctor says so, Ruzanna, go out and have wine, drink wine with friends, beer with friends, right?
In many ways.
It's science, Ruzanna, it's science. Okay. So, and the second thing is, you should, I was astonished when I heard this. The number one thing that correlates with how long you're going to live, okay, that's more important is your network of friendships. And it can be your tight friendships, but also your more extended network. They can be light friendships too. They can be acquaintanceships. And that is more important to your longevity then what you eat, then whether you exercise, then your socioeconomic status, then your income, then your education, more important than anything. So you get out there with those girlfriends. That's really important. The second, that's the friends. The funds is you get, as I mentioned, you go back to doing stuff for yourself, piano lessons, dance lessons, whatever. The other big thing is grandkids. And a lot of people don't think about this. I don't have grandkids yet. But everybody I know that does have grandkids, they are so crazy about these grandkids. It's completely different from having kids, apparently.
And spoil them all you want, right?
You can spoil them all you want and hand it back. And the third thing is fulfillment. And the fulfillment is that women take the time to think about, is this all there is? Men generally don't read self-help books. Did you know that? Did you know that most self-help books are not even written by women, read by women? A lot of self-help books are written by men.
No, but that doesn't surprise me.
And so women are thinking, what's my purpose? What do I want to do? Is this all there is? Blah, blah, blah. And they do actually take some time to think about that, and they do find it. They do find ways to direct their activities and their focus towards things that they really care about. Because, oh boy, I can't believe I didn't even say this yet. The best thing about turning 50 and then turning 60 and turning 70 is you stop caring about the social expectations. All right. So you were talking before about, I'm worried about my looks. I'm worried about my body. First of all, you don't have anything to worry about in that area. But if somebody was worried about it, you just don't care as much anymore. You really don't. And I'm starting to appreciate that. What should I say? You feel like you can be your own individual self. You can wear bright colors to work if you work in a bank, even if you work in a bank, kind of thing. So you stop letting yourself be as constricted by the expectations of society. You're more confident because you have all these resources, and you start feeling much more comfortable insisting on being yourself, which is a beautiful thing, So the third quarter is all really pretty good, prime time, as I call it. That's why I called it prime time, because women in particular, are in the prime of their lives. But, mine was a marketing book, and it's to talk to people who serve the consumer market and have them appreciate that primetime women are the ones with all the money. Ruzanna, I'm not just saying that. You know that in the financial advisor industry, right? Women, older women, first of all, a couple generally inherits from both sides of the family, the husband and the wife. So both of it comes down into the couple. And then generally, let's face it, men have shorter life expectancies than women. And so generally she inherits from her husband. Well, that means that the combined incomes of three households, I guess, are all in her hands now, right? And that's extremely important and extremely fortunate, because retirement for women is completely different than retirement for men. And I have to tell you, Ruzanna, I don't see other financial advisors addressing this at all. I read a lot of financial advice stuff, and they don't talk about, when you're doing retirement planning for a couple, you should there should be a plan for the woman and a plan for the man. Or if you want to call it this way, there should be a plan for the first to die and a plan for the survivor. Yeah. Probably you don't want to call it that way, but if we got to be gender neutral or whatever, Ruzanna, I forgot to say, 70% of men die married.
Right.
And 70% of women die single. Why is that? Women marry men who are older than they are, and they live longer also. So what does that mean? That if the husband in a couple becomes disabled or whatever in some way, it gets older, and does have some physical problems, they've got her to care for him. She takes care of him. If he passes on, then who's going to take care of her? And now there's a whole new set of expenses about healthcare, about long-term care, that there should be I'm talking in your area now, but I don't understand why there aren't all kinds of holistic plans that integrate long-term care, health insurance, life insurance, et cetera. Right. Talk about what I know you do it differently. So
Yeah, so
So
when I first started planning and I started using the planning software, I was surprised how one-dimensional it was. And to your point, it really doesn't account for a lot of situations in our lives. And I just went through that experience where my stepfather passed away. And that's exactly right. My mom, who took fantastic, who dedicated the last decade of his life to taking care of him, is now completely on her own. So for women, I know you mentioned that, well, in our prime time, we have money, which is fantastic. And when I meet with women in their 50s, 60s, it's all about, how do I enjoy this money? But there is not a single woman who isn't worried about her future and making sure that she doesn't run out of money when she's, 85 or 90 years old in the most vulnerable time. There is not a single woman who wants to be a burden for her kids or become the proverbial bag lady.
Absolutely. That's, and so many women are worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've become a little bit more aware of, the big void in financial planning,
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's a key issue for your industry.
Yes, it absolutely is. I think there is definitely a slow progress in the fact that, so what I have personally done is sort of move away from just very investment focused and asset management focused approach to planning for life.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for women and these two stages, and make sure that when I talk to a couple, I talk to both people and have a fantastic relationship with both people, so that I have a plan and I have that trust that I can help both spouses get what they want.
And Ruzanna, I think that it's not just including both people. I think that the other thing that you do is that you're proactive about explaining to the couple, because other financial advisors try to include both people, but that's not enough. Women really need their own plan. They really do. And people, I don't know. I don't think people are talking to them about it. I can understand it would be a sensitive issue for some couples, I suppose. But I think it's extremely important for women to know the facts and know what needs to be done in third quarter, as we're calling it, in order to be safe, happy, and healthy in fourth quarter, because she's going to need a different infrastructure to help her with that than she's getting these days. And I, honestly, I put that on the financial advisor industry. There should be so much more attention put to that. And the advisor industry is being a little bit slow to appreciate the people who have all the money. I'm confused by that myself, but that's what I see. I know why it is. It's because of what you were talking about, because the advisor industry is still very much focused on the investments part of things. Mm-hmm. And that's such a small part of what a financial plan needs to be. The holistic approach, sure, people are talking about it in the industry, but nobody's really doing what you're doing, Ruzanna, which is to say that it's not just holistic, it's recognizing that the two individuals we're talking about here are likely to have quite different futures.
No, but if I'm going back to our conversation, it's very interesting. So there is this period of life where, getting out of the fog of 40s and to the sort of the sunshine of
the fog 50s. Of 40, the freedom of 50.
More F words.
Still F words, yeah.
So it's a very important time in women's life, because on one hand you want to enjoy what you have, your freedom, your resources, your newly found energy and the zest.
Start something new. It's a great time to start something new.
Be bold, be courageous, just live for yourself. But at the same time, you need to have the sort of the wisdom and also the foresight to say, okay, I need to be way better with finances, educate myself if I feel that I'm not up to speed, and gain that confidence, work with somebody who I trust, who understands me and what I'm going to go through, so that you don't come to what we call the third quarter of life and all of a sudden you're facing a lot of vulnerability and facing and not being the risk of any hardship for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. And the other thing, that this is a smaller factor, Ruzanna, but when I was talking about freedom, that's what women especially get this bonus at around 50. The divorce rate is sort of proof of that, because the divorce rate has been dropping in the US amongst all age groups. And it's
still
still
COVID.
Yeah, I know. No, I think that people are just cohabiting now, and they're not even getting married.
Right. Yeah.
But amongst all age groups, and the fact of the matter is, most divorces happen when people are under 40. Really, that's where most of the divorce is concentrated. So I don't want to give the impression, there's something called gray divorce, and I don't want to give the impression that it's common, but it's doubled in the last 20 years. So it's gone up from 5% of women over 50 getting divorced to 10% of women over 50 getting divorced, right? And here's the interesting thing. People mostly assume that gray divorce is led by men who decide they're tired of their wife or family or whatever and want to go off with some, used to be called trophy wife, right? All right. But in fact, that's not true. 2/3 of gray divorces are initiated by the women. So that is saying to me, you know what? I feel this. I feel this zest. I feel this freedom. I want my friends' fun and fulfillment. Bye. And so people need, that's another area. I mean, I know you don't bring it up or whatever, but I hope that women understand that, if that's something that you would be considering, that a woman would be considering doing, it's essential to talk to a financial advisor before you bring it up with anybody else. I think before you bring it up with the lawyer, before you bring it up with your husband. And by the way, 26% of those husbands say they were completely blindsided, never saw it coming.
Wow.
Really?
Well, hence the divorce.
So those are two. I mean, everybody's going to have that long-term care, retirement, living longer kind of issue, but in a small way too. That's another thing, is that women have to take care of themselves. And they have to realize that they're going to have a different retirement than men, and they have to get serious about their finances.
Yeah. I would think that financial independence is part of the reason that the divorce is even possible, or women are considering it, because we've worked in more, our careers are more prominent, and we overall are making more money. But as you said, being more thoughtful about finances, I feel that it is still true that a lot of times women will take care of the household expenses and bills, and men will take care of sort of investing and all the sort of long-term financial strategies. Which once you go on, if you're ever on your own, all of a sudden it's you. So understanding what you're doing, or having confidence in somebody who can help you out is key. Making huge life decisions at this point.
Absolutely. So are you going to be talking with some primetime women about all of this stuff, Ruzanna? What are you going to be doing with all this information and talent and skills that you've got here?
With my friends, we always have this conversation. So what's next for us? And part of what's next for me was my decision to open my own business. At first, my business was just, this is what I've wanted to do for a long time. And now it's my turn and my opportunity. But the more I work with people and with women, I understand how much need there is for what I do. And it's become a mission for me also to get this word out there. Hey, you've got to live life. You got to be intentional. You want to be happy. Happiness is the most important thing to me. And having your finances under control and sort of your financial house in order is an absolutely first condition to enjoying your life and to your happiness. I'm absolutely, whenever I meet with women, it's all about enjoying the prime time, but having also the financial security behind it.
And I think it's important to get the word out to women too, Ruzanna. I know you have a newsletter that you send out to your clients, women and men, but I think it's important to get the news out, because I really think women haven't given much thought to it. In addition, it should be the financial advisor who's bringing it up to the women. But if the women, if they're not doing that, then the women need to bring it up to the other financial advisors. Obviously, you're taking the lead here, which is good. But the important thing is for women to know that this is important and that they need to participate, because you're absolutely right. women tended not to get very involved with financial advisor meetings when it was all about investments. And I have my own theory about that, which I'm going to take a minute to tell you, which is that investments was one of the few things you could get men to handle, right?
Right.
That they would do voluntarily. It's one of the few areas where men were happy to take the lead. But what's changed now is that everybody knows the research has been absolutely clear. You can't beat the market, right? So everybody's into sort of market index sort of things with investments. That means that all of this stock picking stuff that financial advisors used to say made them the right, guy. It is always the guys, usually the guys, all right, made them, great investment advisors. You don't need great investment advisors anymore. No investment advisors are great enough to get you a consistent level of outperforming the market. Therefore, you have more time to focus on the other elements of the holistic plan that you were talking about. Now, women, as you say, women in my book, I've called them the chief purchasing officers for the household for a long time, because women do spend 80% of the money. Doesn't matter who brings it in, the husband, the wife, whatever, they both bring in the money. But for marketers, it's important who spends it, right? With finances, women are the chief purchasing officer, have been for a long time. Now that investments is less interesting, and I think men will be like, no, it's not a game anymore. It's just a chore. I think women will wrap that in under their purchasing area and jurisdiction, and will become the chief financial officers of the household now, which is going to be a big change for financial advisors, because most of them don't know how to talk to women. Most of them don't. They don't realize that women have different priorities. They don't realize that women have different communication styles. And they certainly aren't bringing forward the differences in their expected life that they should be planning for. But you, I know you're getting the word out to women and men, and I'm sure that, they very much appreciate your understanding that they need to take the lead.
Yeah, a lot. So I can't. I remember this book that I read where it says that the communication between men and women is a cross-cultural communication. Right. So a lot of times, even when you're having quote unquote a conversation, what gets said and what gets heard is completely different. So being
amen to that, right? Haven't we all had that experience?
Yeah. So being on the same wavelength with somebody is very important in sort of listening and hearing and interpreting it in the right way, so that you can give the right guidance and information. A lot of times it's not said. It has to be implied or understood what actually is on people's mind and on women's mind, because a lot of times it's where, I don't want to say it's stereotypical, but women are, even in conversations with me, more quiet. I just intuitively sometimes sense what their concerns are, and I will always bring it up just to make sure that they're also heard and feel the freedom to express it to me as well.
Well, you have a huge role in helping these primetime women enjoy their prime time and prepare themselves for their fourth quarters, Ruzanna. It must be very inspiring, actually, I would imagine, to know that you're having that much difference, making that much difference for people.
Yes, this is the first time in my career that I'm happy. So my prime time is coming, and I cannot wait to live it every day.
That's what I love to hear. That's great, Ruzanna. Great conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marti. I am hoping that this conversation will be as useful and inspirational to my friends and my listeners as it was for me.
Well, it's my pleasure. I love to talk about this stuff, Ruzanna, so anytime.
That's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this discussion and you're looking forward to your best years still to come. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Ruzanna's Roundtable for another insightful discussion about work, life, and money.